Hello and welcome to the Handmaid Hub. If you've ever been drawn in, unsettled, or intrigued by The Handmaid's Tale, then you've found the right channel. This channel is dedicated to discussing the frightening world of Gilead, a totalitarian theocracy where human rights are taken away under the disguise of religion, and existence is resistance.
You girls will serve the leaders and their barren wives. You will bear children for them.
Now, we'll explore the roots of the narrative, the dystopian state it predicts, its unforgettable characters, and the various symbols and themes that have caused it to become a cultural touchstone. Whether you're new to the series or rereading it to pass its deeper levels, this guide will give you a comprehensive understanding of The Handmaid's Tale and why its warning still echoes today.
For years, we've been afraid of them. Now it's time for them to be afraid of us.
We need to hold those terrorist rebels accountable. They need to be reminded who they're dealing with.
We can't just let them win.
Mayday's working on a plan to kill extremist commanders.
If you want to fight, then let's fight together.
Oh, well, the rule that I set myself for The Handmaid's Tale was that nothing goes in this that doesn't have a precedent somewhere in history.
Chapter 1. Beginnings and Genesis. The Handmaid's Tale began life as a novel written by Canadian author Margaret Atwood, published in 1985. Atwood's inspiration was not prophetic science fiction, it had a basis in precedent. She stated famously, "There is nothing in the book that hasn't already happened somewhere." She wanted to write a story which would be both terrifying and plausible. To do that, she turned to the past, totalitarian governments, puritanical regimes, systematic misogyny, and violations of human rights. She studied how governments have used religion, the law, and intimidation to disenfranchise women, from Nazi Germany to the Salem witch trials, from North American campaigns of forced sterilizations to modern theocracies. The result was Gilead, a religious dictatorship based on patriarchal thought and ecological fear. Atwood imagined a world in which birth rates drastically drop, democracy is destroyed, and religious right-wing fundamentalists with an interest in fear-mongering assume power. Women are denied the freedom to read, work, or own property. They are assigned to different roles like wives, Marthas, aunts, econowives, and the handmaids. In 2017, Hulu debuted the novel as a TV series with Elizabeth Moss casting as June Osborne, Offred in Gilead.
There's an eye in your house. I'll send you to the colonies. You'll be cleaning up toxic waste, and then you'll die.
Tonight is a celebration of Gilead and of what we have achieved.
We only wanted to make the world better.
Better.
Better never means better for everyone.
While the first season strictly followed the book, later seasons expanded the universe with more depth into the characters and more of the entire resistance to the regime. The show was a cultural moment, premiering in the midst of global political upheaval. Its portrayal of oppression, misogyny, and monitoring felt urgent. There were global protests that used the handmaids' red uniforms and white bonnets to symbolize opposition to actual assaults on women's rights. Page to screen, The Handmaid's Tale has been a scorching examination of power, how it is gathered, how it is wielded, and how it is fought back against. It is less a story of what could be. It is an observation of the things that have been.
The vote in Alabama to essentially outlaw abortion in that state has sparked immediate reaction. Protesters evoking The Handmaid's Tale are surrounding the state house. It's just the latest example of protesters dressing up in costume to get their point across.
They are ladies in red, looking like extras from the TV show The Handmaid's Tale. But this is not acting. The Handmaid's Tale costume is turning into the new go-to protest attire for women.
Chapter 2. The Dystopia of Gilead. Gilead is not a regime of anarchy, it is a carefully managed regime founded on religious dictatorship and fantasy of godly order. In the universe of The Handmaid's Tale, the United States has disintegrated after ecological catastrophes and a reproductive crisis. Out of this chaos comes Gilead, a totalitarian theocracy that applies scripture to legitimate its rule and exercise control over its citizens, especially women. Gilead's government claims to restore moral order, but actually imposes cruel patriarchy. The Bible is not read in a sophisticated or compassionate fashion. It is militarized. Legislation is written from selectively edited verses, tortured to legitimize slavery, rape, censorship, and erasure of identity. The result is a society where every citizen has a role, every movement surveilled, and every act of rebellion punished. Women in Gilead lose all legal rights. They are not allowed to read, own property, or speak freely. They lose their identities and are replaced by assigned roles, each marked by colour-coded apparel. Wives wear teal, Marthas wear green, aunts wear brown, econowives wear grey, and handmaids, the focus of the story, wear red. These roles determine every part of their lives, from speech to purpose, then to survival. The core of this society is fear. Gilead has constant vigilance, ritualized punishment, and official propaganda to keep citizens under control. Public hangings occur and bodies are placed on the wall in an effort to instill fear. Spies, known as eyes, infiltrate all societies. Neighbour spies upon neighbour. No one is safe. What's most terrifying about Gilead is not only how brutal it is, but how organised it works. It is logical, and it makes its citizens, even its tyrants, believe that this order is holy. Women come to believe that Gilead has saved them from chaos, that their suffering is sacramental. This manipulation teeters on indoctrination. And yet Gilead is not omnipotent. Its austerity conceals fractures. There are hidden secrets, silent uprisings, and clandestine pacts. There are some who still recall life in a world before Gilead, and they cling to this remembrance as a weapon. Gilead did not happen overnight. It began out of fear, out of incremental legal changes, out of complacency. That is the most frightening thing. It forces us to wonder, how close are we? What are we willing to give up in order to be safe? And how fast we would come to regret it.
Wear the red dress, wear the wings. Shut your mouth, be a good girl. Roll over and spread your legs. Yes, ma'am. May the Lord open. My name is June.
You girls will serve the leaders of the faithful and their barren wives. You will bear children for them.
Oh, you are so lucky!
Well, let's get started.
Push, push, push. Read, read.
We are handmaids.
Chapter 3. Who are the handmaids? The handmaids are the most conspicuous and most violated bodies in the society of Gilead. Their red robes and white caps are symbolically iconic, both within the narrative itself and beyond it. These are not merely robes to be worn in Gilead, they are admonitions. The colour red signifies fertility, blood, danger, and domination. The white wings of their bonnets obscure their vision, or are obscured from vision, a physical limitation upon seeing and knowing. Handmaids are fertile women forced into sexual bondage for the ruling classes, passed on to the commanders and wives. They are there to get pregnant and give birth. Each month, at the time of their ovulation, they are subjected to the ceremony, a government-sanctioned ritual of rape. It is done with the commander's wife standing over them, holding down the handmaid, as the commander recites scripture and performs the act. It is being defended on the strength of a biblical episode, Rachel and Bilhah, but it is only abuse in holy clothes. The regime makes the ceremony sacred, but it is actually part of a system that dehumanizes the handmaids from the moment they are selected. They are first brought to the Rachel and Leah Center, commonly known as the Red Center, where aunts like Aunt Lydia teach them servility. They are told that it is a gift that the old world was sinful and violent, and that Gilead has delivered them. But to survive as a handmaid is to tread a psychological tight wire. They must contend with constant surveillance, intrusive medical interventions, verbal and physical aggression that their failure to bear will mean being sent to the colonies, a synonym for death. They relocated from house to house, stripped of autonomy, kinship, and self. Even their names are not their own. Offered means of Fred, her assigned commander. Others are Ovglen, Off-Warren, names that confirm that they are owned. But handmaids resist, subtly and in small but important ways. They pass messages, whisper secrets, share forbidden words. They hold on to their real names, their former lives, and their humanness. Some, like June Osborne, begin to resist not for themselves, but for their children and for the idea of freedom. In Gilead, the handmaids are meant to be quiet vessels. But there is rage beneath the silence. Their obedience is a camouflage for strength. And though they dress alike, each of them has a tale to tell, a tale of survival, self, and resistance.
My name is June Osborne. Fred Waterford and Serena Joy Waterford imprisoned me, beat me, and raped me. I came to the Waterfords' house in 2017. It was my second posting. After I gave birth, the Waterfords forbid any contact with my daughter, Nicole, although I was still expected to provide breast milk for her. Eventually, I managed to convince them to let me spend some time with her. Mrs. Waterford did make one attempt to improve conditions for the women and young girls of Gilead. She appeared in front of the Commander's Council and read out loud from the Bible. For this crime of reading, they cut off her finger. Mr. Waterford, her husband, did not object. When I confronted Mr. Waterford about his brutality, he struck me and threatened to cut out my tongue.
Chapter 4, June Osborne, Offred. June Osborne is the voice, the heart, and the eyes of the Handmaid's Tale. Her journey from a normal woman to Offred, a state-owned handmaid, is the emotional core of the show. But even as Gilead tries to erase her, June holds on tightly to the memory of who she was. Her name is not Offred, it's June. And that distinction is everything. Before Gilead's revolution, June was a librarian, a wife to Luke, and mother to a young daughter, Hannah. Her life was an ordinary one, filled with love, friendship, and the freedom to make decisions about her own body. But with the new Gilead government came an end to those freedoms. Women were being fired from their jobs. Their bank accounts were frozen, protests violently broken up. And then came the mass arrests, forced family separations, and re-education. June and Luke attempted to flee with Hannah to Canada, but were caught. Luke fled. June and Hannah were taken into custody. Because Luke had been previously divorced before he married June, their marriage was nullified under Gilead's new legislation. June was pronounced an adulteress. Her daughter was taken away. Her name was stripped. She was given the new name Offred of Fred, the commander to whom she was assigned. June was at home in Waterford and was put through the ceremony, to surveillance, to degradation. Serena Joy, the commander's wife, loathes and relies on her. Aunt Lydia, her erstwhile Red Center instructor, appears periodically to inform her of her place. The commander occasionally summons her Scrabble sessions, reading aloud from magazines, gestures that seem near benign but are horrifically controlling. Despite all the horrors that are endured by her, June never totally surrenders. She forms silent alliances with the other handmaids, with Nick, the commander's chauffeur, with the Mayday resistance. She begins to push boundaries, hiding messages, asking questions, even instigating mini uprisings. Her bond with Nick is one of hope. Coerced by Serena Joy to sleep with him in order to conceive, June and Nick form a relationship that goes against the rules of Gilead. Their forbidden intimacy is one of the only things in her life that is completely hers. June is not a perfect heroine. She is angry, she is scared, she is fallible and occasionally illogical. But she is always fighting back, for her child, for her honour, for a society in which women are something more than vessels. She gets through each day not because she is invincible, but because she remembers who she was, and will not let Gilead remake her into something else.
Someone will come for you. Go in grace.
Hey. Someone will come get you.
You can.
They have a place you can stay, so it's safe to move. It won't be too long, I promise. June?
Chapter 5. Symbolism and Major Themes. The Handmaid's Tale is a textured narrative. Its themes are not evasive, they are blunt in your face and highly political. Essentially, the series looks into how one gains power, how one abuses it, and how individuals fight to regain identity in systems of oppression. By way of symbolic imagery and repetitive motifs, the story makes us think about freedom, terror, and the cost of resistance. One of the most pervasive themes is power and control. In Gilead, everything that is law, ritual, and regulation is devoted to suppressing personal freedom. The state exercises control over women's bodies, their speech, their clothing, even their minds. Language is used as a mechanism of power. Handmaids must communicate in biblical sentences like, "Blessed be the fruit," "May the Lord open," so that every interaction is a declaration of their subjugation. Even reading is banned. Knowledge, the biggest empowerment tool, is made a crime. But control does not necessarily produce submission. There is built into the story resistance and rebellion. Not all resistance is melodramatic. At the time it can be quiet, a whispered name, a note left in a hidden spot, a refusal to shatter. Mayday is planned as resistance, but each small act of disobedience matters. June, Moira, and others resisted. Some fled while some stayed. Some burn it down from within. Another persistent theme is womanhood and fertility. In Gilead, the worth of a woman is solely tied to her childbearing capabilities. Handmaids are both heroized and villainized as fertile. Wives are pitied if they are infertile. Unwomen, the barren, old, or rebellious, are sent off to the colonies. Motherhood is militarized and politicized. Gilead merchandises giving birth into propaganda, taking it out of love, choice, and joy. Of all the themes in The Handmaid's Tale, perhaps the most horrifying is freedom versus safety. Gilead offers security protection from crime, from sterility, from the corrupting influence of a sinful society. But in return, it requires absolute compliance. The series poses an essential question: what would you sacrifice to be safe? And what would it take for you to discover the safety was an illusion? The show also uses symbolism to reinforce its themes. The red uniforms of the handmaids are symbolic of blood and fertility. White bonnets offer isolation. The wall with its scrawled-over bodies is a warning of dread. Even the commander's study where illicit reading occurs is symbolic of pilfered knowledge and feigned kindness. And then there is the motto chiseled out in secret, Nolit te bastardes carborundorum. It is perhaps pseudo-Latin, but its purpose is real. Don't let the bastards grind you down.
There was an Offred before me. She helped me find my way out. She's dead. She's alive. She is me. We are handmaids. No lide de bastardes carborundorum, bitches.
Chapter 6. Real-world parallels. One reason why The Handmaid's Tale is so strong is that it doesn't feel like a distant dystopia. It feels close, familiar, and realistic. Margaret Atwood didn't construct Gilead from whole cloth. She constructed it from actual historical precedent, social trends, and political ideas. Every regulation, ceremony, and punishment in Gilead has happened somewhere, sometime in the real world. The invocation of religion to perpetuate regime oppression reminds us how, down through the ages, oppressive rulers have employed scripture to repress. They have all drawn on holy writings to eliminate human rights, from theocratic regimes to radical cults. Gilead is a fictional country, but its origins lie in real ideologies that morality can be enforced, that tradition must replace progress, and that domination equals security. Nowhere is this more chilling than in the comparisons to reproductive rights. Women in Gilead are owned by the state. Handmaids are raped for ritual, deprived of agency, and forced to give birth to others. Alas, these ideals are not relegated to fiction. Around the whole world there are states where abortion is illegal, where reproductive care is denied, and where women are prosecuted for miscarriage. The idea that governments can and do control reproductive choices is not theory. It is a fact. Protests erupted in the United States and other countries after legislative assaults on women's rights following the TV show's release in 2017. Protesters began donning the handmaid garb, red robes, and white bonnets, and standing silently in public spaces to protest women being silenced. From the US Supreme Court to parliaments in Poland and Argentina, the handmaid has turned into a global protest symbol. The series also addresses the horrors of censorship and surveillance. Gilead forbids books, restricts speech, and encourages citizens to inform on each other. These tactics are similar to those of past and current regimes that seek to control truth and limit access to information. There are also parallels with the treatment of LGBTQ+ people. In Gilead, homosexuality is illegal. Gender traitors are executed or sent to work camps. Sadly, in most modern nations, queer people remain criminalized, discriminated against, and brutally attacked for simply being who they are. In the end, the real-world analogues aren't intended to frighten us for no reason. They are intended to encourage vigilance. Freedom does not vanish in an instant. It wears away gradually, law by law, policy by policy, until one day something previously regarded as unthinkable is accepted as normal.
You wrote The Handmaid's Tale in a pre-internet age, and I've read that you had press clippings with you about abortion outlaws in Romania and declining birth rates in Canada. How much did writing The Handmaid's Tale feel like an act of journalism? Did it?
Oh, well, the rule that I set myself for The Handmaid's Tale was that nothing goes in this that doesn't have a precedent somewhere in history or in real life right now. Going back and looking at some of the things that Hitler had done, for instance, they're very similar. He was a child stealer. He stole blonde children from Poland and put them with German families, hoping to augment the number of Aryans, etc.
Chapter 7 and 8, the evolution of the series and what to expect from this channel. The Handmaid Hub is your go-to place for in-depth reflective analysis of The Handmaid's Tale. This is not only a recaps and fan discussion space, it is a channel committed to deconstructing the layers, messages, and meanings of every scene, character, and symbol in the narrative. Whether you are new to the series or have been following it since the start, here you will find content that educates, provokes, and connects. We begin with episode-by-episode breakdowns that go beyond the plot. Each episode breakdown explores the emotional resonance, symbolic imagery, and narrative techniques that make each show so engaging. From the pacing of every episode to what characters do say, we unlock how the series creators build tension and provoke thought, and how even the tiniest moments are richly significant. Then we offer character analyses. June, Serena Joy, Aunt Lydia, Moira, Nick, Emily, Janine are complicated characters. They're multidimensional creatures forged by trauma, ideology, and agency. We trace how they develop across seasons, following how each of them is an incarnation of key themes like power, guilt, complicity, and hope. You'll get a better idea of what drives them, what haunts them, and why their choices matter. We also do symbolism breakdown, from the handmaids' red uniforms to the hidden meanings in the recurring objects. We unravel the dense visual vocabulary of the show. What does the commander's study represent? Why is gardening such an insisted upon image? What do wings, bonnets, and walls mean? We dissect how these symbols connect to the greater truths of the tale and to our own life struggles and fears. In our real-life parallels section, we talk about how The Handmaid's Tale reflects contemporary concerns. We mention reproductive rights, religious extremism, censorship, surveillance, and criminalization of identity. We connect fictional laws to actual policies. We draw attention to protests where handmade costumes have become a tool for protest. We bring in history, politics, and ethics into the conversation. We also have scene and quote analysis deep dives moments that flip everything on its head, lines that linger long after the episode ends. We break down what makes them resonate so much and the way they get to the heart of the story. Finally, we're talking fan theories, speculation, and open discussion. What happens to June? How will the testaments shape future seasons? What's the show hiding still? We'd love your thoughts, your voices, your theories. This is the Handmaid Hub, a space to learn, to reflect, and above all, to remember. If you are here, it is because you believe in the power of story, not merely as entertainment, but as a means of challenging, of awakening, of warning. The Handmaid's Tale is more than a dystopian thriller. It is an echo of real fears, real oppressions, and real histories that continue to reverberate in our world today. Gilead is fictional, but the structures it describes, religious fanaticism, state violence, erasure of women's agency, are borrowed directly from history and from our own time. The novel warned us, the series reminded us, and now we can't forget. It's not a simple tale of a woman losing her liberty. It's a woman remembering that she is something in a world that forces her to remember otherwise. It's about June, a mother, a survivor, a rebel who refuses to be silenced. Her voice is not always steady, it is not always pure, but it is hers, and it tells the truth about what many others have been told to shut their mouths about, to sit down and shut up and suck it up. We at the Handmaid Hub are committed to carrying that voice with us, to continue the conversation, to leave space for truth, discomfort, nuance, and courage. We're here to find meaning, not just in episodes, but in how they overlap with our lives, our values, and our choices. This channel exists because The Handmaid's Tale matters. It matters to those who have fought for bodily autonomy. It matters to those who have survived violence. It matters to anyone who has questioned power and dared to imagine something better. We are here to learn, to reflect, to listen to each other, and to never look away from the hard truths this story asks us to face. So if you believe that resistance counts in big ways, in small ways, if you're here to remember, learn, and question, then you're in the right place. Subscribe to the Handmaid Hub, join the conversation, share your voice, and most of all, never forget what June taught us. Nolite de bastards carborundorum. Do not let the bastards grind you down. They require you to be silent, they require you to hear, they require you to forget, but you don't forget, you struggle, you persevere. And that is how we begin again.